Thank you. For this panel, we'll go ahead and have you guys start off. If you could just give like a brief introduction of your company and maybe subcontracting opportunities.
Hello, I'm Angela Frenista. I'm the president and CEO of BTAS. BTAS has been around in defense contracting. Next year is 25 years. And we started in the ANAS realm about 8 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. We started building an IT capability. Today we have expertise expanding into cybersecurity. We've also expanded our footprint outside of the Air Force to include the Navy. And let's see, with the changes in contract, in the landscape of contracts, and the changeover in some of our contracts that have been re-awarded to another company locally here in Dayton, BTAS is going through what every small business does, and that is you start reevaluating, looking at what capability you have, and we're doing that now and have a lot of opportunities to expand. And so with that, we are looking at opportunities to grow as a prime and also to be a subcontractor to other companies as well. We are, a lot of what we're doing is changing with regard to how we market ourselves and brand ourselves. Our webpage is going under a major renovation, and it will be positioned to be more friendly towards partnering, since we're looking for partners to go after other markets that include DHS, expanding our work in NASA, expanding our work in the Navy, and with that, there's a need for contracting, and we're looking for other small businesses that have expertise in those areas, and large business as well. So, thanks.
Thank you.
I'm Michael Bridges, president of Panelists Technologies, and Panelists is in its 20th year of operation. This year we will do approximately $100 million in sales, and it's the first time for us to break that mark, and that's in areas of weapon system acquisition engineering and cybersecurity, nuclear engineering, space systems engineering for NASA. NASA is, about half of our work goes to NASA, and the other half is for Department of Defense. 92% of our work is as a prime contractor, and so 8% is as a subcontractor. 66% of our contracts are cost plus, and another 31% are fixed price level of effort. We, as of 2 days ago, according to my CFO, the amount of work that Panelists currently subcontracts out is 39%. So out of that $100 million this year, we're going to subcontract to partners $39 million worth of work. So we have a lot of opportunities. Now, granted, a lot of that work is already, with teaming partners that are already there. But as we grow and as we compete for new contracts, we'll need new folks, new ideas. What I will say is, what we're going to be looking for are partners with strong capabilities in key areas, depending on the given opportunity. We need partners with exceptional CPARs and past performance. We need partners with a deep understanding of what it takes to work with the federal government. We need partners who can demonstrate that they can recruit and retain highly qualified engineers, computer scientists, STEM people with security clearances that are appropriate. We need partners with ideas that support DISA, because we have an Encore 3 contract. We need partners who can support the Army, because we have an RS-3 contract, who can support the Navy, because we have a next-gen contract, and we have a growing portfolio of work at NASA. So space and NASA-related ideas, we're looking for partners like that. We also need partners who will step up and help us write and solution-winning proposals, and we expect the same thing out of our partners that the government expects out of us. What we don't need is butts in seats, no capabilities, cheaper than everybody else partners that won't step up. And I think we've all met those folks. We don't have time for those. You guys don't have time for that. So we're looking for strong, capable partners. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike McElwain. I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Business Development at Oasis Systems. Oasis was founded in '97, so we're just over 20 years old ourselves as an 8A. And from the beginning, we were a technical company, did engineering services kind of work, and had the wherewithal to bid and win work as a prime. And similar to what Michael just said, we do, since our inception, we've always done over 90% of our revenue as a prime. And I think that kind of helps with the rigor and setting the stage to grow and to be successul. And when we graduated from the 8A program, we had single-digit backlog in the 8A program. So I think looking ahead to the next level, the next step, from an infrastructure standpoint, from a accounting system, for example, benefits, that kind of thing, what is it going to take to continue to improve and to grow and compete against bigger companies over time? Because at the beginning, when we were in 8A, we were getting set-aside business and that kind of thing. But we really didn't check the block for another company to take credit for us. We were out kind of doing our own thing. So we've always had, I think, strong financial stability, but we were also very fiscally conservative, so we didn't kind of overreach and get ourselves into a bind. We've always had large lines of credit that we had access to, but it's only been recently when we won some of the larger contracts that we've won where you had to float a payroll over 60, 90 days that we've had to dip into those, and we really have. So that was kind of important to have that in place as we grew. In 2010, the former owner of our company, Tom Celia, who was our 8A owner, his health was failing, and he sold the company to a fund that was organized by our current CEO, Tom Colatasti, who knew Tom Celia from 20 years in church. So it was a relationship-based transition, and the company, or the family fund out of New York that bought us, gave us some stability to be able to do some things that were very different from a lot of small businesses. In the Air Force, where we're measured, our NAICS codes are people-based. They added 70 people to our headcount, so that we really weren't impacted to a great extent by the fact that we are owned by this entity now. But we were able to go out and do things like we acquired R&B Technologies out of Stafford. So what we were looking to do, we were very Air Force-centric. We were looking to expand our market in terms of different customer bases. So R&B was doing work with the Marine Corps at Quantico. They were doing work with the MDA down at Huntsville, and kind of gave us a different customer set to work with. After that, so that was in 2012. In 2015, we acquired a company called MAR out of Rockville that was Navy-centric, very specialized engineering Navy company, a lot of tests and engineering with the Navy. Again, broadened both our core competencies and our customer base. And then our most recent acquisition was in 2017, when we acquired HSI, Human Solutions Incorporated out of DC, and they're an FAA-based company. They have a contract that's similar to the kind of work that we do, providing services with the FAA, called ETAS. Similar to the Air Force. I think there's not enough acronyms to go around. We had an ETAS contract with the Air Force, they had one with the FAA. But I think, the fact that we were able to do that has given us the stability to continue to grow and expand. We've had some recent successes, as some of you may know. Last year, we did win one HDRO contract with the Battle Management, now the PEO Digital, which was an EPAS contract that consolidated all of the various ANAS contracts into one. And then we won one that was a TALTEP, kind of like the traditional EPAS acquisition strategy. So we're looking, we look at these different X strategies. There's pluses and minuses, I guess, to them. I think the comment that was made by DCS, Gary, I don't think he's in here. We did have some large contracts in our predecessor ETAS contracts that we were able to bid and compete on an EPAS contract where the customer was looking for a demonstration that you could transition a large workforce, and we've benefited from that. So we're a small business still in the GSA Oasis Pool 6. Many people wonder how we can be with the amount of work that we've won over the last couple of years. And the reason is, you get to the brink sometimes of we've had some points in time where we've lost lots of work and felt like we were right on the edge. When we won EPAS HI and EPAS HB, we had the ETAS contracts in that area, so we had a lot to lose. So when we won, we essentially kept ourselves whole, and we subcontracted out the other half of the work. And so, though we're small, we're always looking for good other small businesses to partner with. And as we're growing, we've been competing, and we've had some success in the unrestricted space, like RS3, as Michael also mentioned. So we're an unrestricted prime there, and we're going to be competing with the big boys in the Army. And so we're always going to be looking for help from a subcontracting standpoint. And you can reach out to me or anyone on our team, and we look forward to those dialogues. But that's kind of a background about Oasis and where we are now, and look forward to answering the questions. I appreciate the opportunity to come. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ken Owsley. I am the Chief Business Development Officer at Saudi Solution Services. On behalf of Connie and Jeff Saudi, who are out of town this week, they send their greetings. Saudi Solution Services started in 2001. Connie and Jeff are employee 1 and number 3. Where we are today, we are rapidly approaching 900 employees. And we ended the year 2018 with $87 million in revenue. Like that has been discussed, we have morphed over time. We started as a strictly A&AS company. We still do that, but we have focused on different, different areas now: cybersecurity, intelligence, engineering, acquisitions, operations, financial management, and supply chain and engineering. One of the things that we're very proud of is that we team. We're pressing about 100, we're very close to 100 awards under Oasis Pool 1 and Pool 3. The vast majority of those awards, the vast majority has been with a teammate. We believe in teaming, and we believe in small business teaming. Because quite frankly, I think I can say for Connie and Jeff that they were there. They were there when it was 1, 2, 3, and 4 people. And we want to be able to be a good steward of that. But as was mentioned by, I think, Michael Bridges, we're looking for teammates that bring things to the table. Typically, we're looking for people that bring very good technical knowledge of a project, of an opportunity, of a customer. We are looking for people that can do this work because either they've been doing it somewhere else or doing it with that customer. But we are certainly very enthused a team. And just as a metric, when I said we did $85 million in revenue last year, we did nearly $22 million in small business payroll, meaning our subs, we paid $22 million. So again, rough math as a BD guy, that's not too bad. Getting close to what we're trying to do is support our customers and still remember that we were a small. The other thing is we are in a transition. We are really no longer a small company. We're Oasis Pool 1, Pool 3 small business for a little longer. We have an 8A Stars 2 contract. It's a long story, but we haven't been an 8A for a while, but we still have that. So we are a so-called mid-tier, which there is no definition of a mid-tier, but that just means we are a large company. And we are continuing to look to deliver top-level solutions, cost competitive, but we won't play how low can you go as well, as was mentioned. We're not interested in that anymore. We're looking to deliver great people and great solutions to great customers. So with that, thank you.
Hi, I'm Ernest Petit for Credence Management Solution. A little bit about Credence. Back in 2007, 2 DOD workers decided, look, we know enough about DOD to probably help out and improve the work that they're doing today. So they decided to start their own company, and they named it Credence Management Solutions. So from that point, I guess in 2009, they landed their first contract. Much like a lot of the small businesses, this is how we've grown. First contract, $1 million, a few FTEs. Over the years, we've expanded throughout the federal district. We did IRS programs. We did different small projects, and have grown. And it wasn't until Oasis came out, and we decided we have the NAICS codes, we have the quals, so let's simply see if we could get an on-ramp into Oasis. I think that's where the springboard came, and I think this is where we, much like Saudi and Peerless, are about to graduate after this 5-year period. I think this is where we need to give back to the smaller businesses that are trying to make their first million, trying to get that 15 million, get the next step, and then hopefully pass it on. So what does Credence do? We started off with IT. We started implementing IT programs, and then we went on to ERP. But the paradigm has shifted. So here, locally, Dayton has pretty much grown and changed. So now we brought on Oasis CPAS, which is the recent HTRO, which I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions about HTRO. Yes, the first Oasis contract we did win, a major win down in Robbins, and we were the first one. We felt that we understood what the government wanted. We cracked the code, but it evolved, and then we had to evolve. Today, they brought HTRO. We were fortunate enough to win EPAS 44 and 45, which is the F-35 support. We're very fortunate on that. Again, all we did, we studied, we read, we understood, we listened, and we simply grew from that. I joined the company 7 years ago, and when we were just probably below $15 million company, and I was employee number 30. So today, we're probably about 700 employees, and we're close to about $200 million company. And as far as contract values, Oasis has put us at close to $900 million in contracts. This is simply awarded contracts. And again, what are we looking for? Opportunities as far as subcontract. Well, we're looking at small business. Small women-owned, small disadvantaged veterans, those types of opportunities. We want to do more of a mentor protege type programs. We want to get involved in that. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people that have experience in, and what's killing us is cyber, data, now more engineering. I'm really liking in those, but those are the types of opportunities we have out there that can actually partner with a small business that would definitely bring something to our table. And also a hub zone. That's another opportunity that we would like to partner with small businesses. We have several IDIQs. We recently have DLA, we have JETS. We do work with the Army, Navy, ETES, Encore, and recently Alliant. So we have many opportunities to actually partner and win major awards. So I think that's where we're at right now as far as opportunities with small businesses. And I appreciate time.
We can go ahead and open up the floor for questions on. I guess one thing, if you guys could go in a little bit more detail as far as what qualifications and criteria you guys are looking at, from a small business, and how you go about vetting them, and what's the easiest way to get a hold of you. Do you put on business days, different things like that?
Sure. Again, from Saudi Solution Services, is I tried to hopefully, not very elegantly, but 25% of our business, 25 to 30%, depending on the year, we like with small businesses. Cannot stress it enough. Like has been mentioned, we have the springboard that got us was Oasis, and we have several other IDIQs, but what we're looking for are people that bring competitive advantage to the project. That isn't necessarily low cost. Could be, but it's not really our number one criteria. We're looking at, very simply, when a customer, or excuse me, a teammate meets with us, I'll just tell them real simply, we're looking for you to do the technical lift. you know, in general. I mean, without knowing the details yet, we're looking for you to do the technical lift. We have business, we started because we started here at Wright-Patterson. We were highly Air Force specific. Over time now, we're doing engineering for the next generation of polar icebreakers. We have toxicologists. We have combat air weathermen. We have a very diverse portfolio. We're in 37 states and we're in 13 OCONUS locations. So really, we need people that can help us understand the customer and the need. Another little pejorative that I say is, I need you to explain to me what the itch is to see if I can scratch it or we can scratch it together. And that again, I just has to harp back, it's technical lift. It's having an understanding that will make us indispensable to that customer. And that's what we look for. We want to do the absolute best job, and that usually means that we have to have some knowledge of the customer, and we certainly don't have knowledge of every customer when we first start with them, and that's what we're looking for help for. So things like that are technical lift. That's really the easiest way I can say it.
I guess for Credence, what we're looking for is, again, women-owned, service disability veterans, and a company with top secret clearances, the facility clearances, that is. And we talk about recruitment. We pride ourselves on CPARs. Majority of our CPARs have been exceptional, so we look for the ability to acquire these quality workforces, candidates that will fill these positions, because we feel providing a service to the client and we listen to the clients. We want to, because with the HTR, it gives us an opportunity to get that quality candidate, and we feel that we should be able to provide that to the client. The other thing we look for is when you talk about pricing, it's tough for us to partner up with large companies because of RAP rates. Going with small businesses, we want to find that low RAP rate that allows us to be very competitive but not cheap. So these are the type of things that we're looking for as far as partnerships.
Because we're ISO 9001 certified under the 2015 standard, we've taken that, there's a requirement that you kind of explain the process and risk mitigations about your subcontracting or the vendors that you use. And so a lot of times what gets beyond the questions that are asked by my colleagues up here, which are exactly the questions we ask, we also are interested in things that can impact us in execution. So we're interested in knowing, do you have an HRIS? How do you recruit? Do you have, what kind of services do you use? Because it's okay if they don't have recruiters on board, but as long as they have, can give us an indication that they can successfully recruit, that's fantastic too. No one company is going to manage exactly the same, nor do we want to. But we do look for companies that can help us in the execution as well as in securing, the contracts. So if they have the relationships, that's great. But we want to make sure in execution they can perform. And I think in the history of the company, that's where the biggest challenges have been, is that when you're teaming with a company and all of a sudden, it's kind of like when you're pulling a sled in a big snowdrift, and all of a sudden that sled is getting really heavy. And when you turn around, if you see your subcontractor sitting on the sled, you got a problem. Everybody but pulling. And so a lot of times in the past, when I think about probably our less positive experiences, it's when our subcontractors have kind of decided that we're going to kind of just let the prime tell us what to do. Let the prime help us fill positions. Let the prime help. That's like running more than my own company. And so we know those experiences, and when we're a subcontractor to a prime, we really work hard to be the best subcontractor they'll ever work with. And so I would say that if you're looking to team, you ought to think about execution as well and what you can bring to the table there.
Well, I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have said because I agree with everything they've said. I will talk for a moment about when Angela talked about everybody has to pull the sled. So, and most of you already know this, but so many times when we're going after something, it's all about that opportunity. And so when you come to us, and frankly, if we go to you, what we're looking for is somebody who understands the opportunity, that particular opportunity, and says, look, I've got a niche here, I've got something I can add, I've talked to the customer, and because many times we're not just looking for kind of a generic company that has some kind of capability. I mean, that's interesting, but oftentimes, hey, let's talk about F-22, or let's talk about, this particular effort that's coming up in the next 6 months or 8 or 12 months or something like that. Because that's something we can together sink our teeth into, and you can say, well, how can we help you, or how can you help us? So, and it's so critical in the business development process to do capture, which of course is a fancy Shipley word for go out and talk to the customer and find out what they want. And if you have capture information that we can share together, that creates value, creates a lot of value for us. So most of you who've been in this business, you already live and die by all that. But some of you who may be entering the business or are newer, we're looking for that kind of information because you can then help us write the winning proposal and take care of the customer. That's really important. And I will point out, Jerry Tritle is here from Peerless. Jerry, raise your hand. Senior Vice President, Peerless. He would be probably your best contact for partnering opportunities. So, Jerry, thank you.
There's a theme, I guess, value add in a teaming relationship is very important. We've actually had companies come in and ask us for work without any interest almost. It's like, you've got a lot, can you give us some kind of thing? Which, nobody wants that. I mean, that's just not a healthy relationship. We're looking for partners that have the passion to grow themselves and help us grow. So we're looking for companies that can help contribute on the instant teaming relationship, but we're looking really for more for that. We're looking for more than that. We're looking for a strategic relationship, typically. If we're going to engage with a company, we want to engage with them not just on this opportunity, but on other opportunities. So we want to exchange pipelines, potentially look at where they can help us, we can help them. We're a large small business. We really only qualify under Pool 6 or the 1500 size standard NAICS code. So there's a lot of opportunity for smaller companies to come to Oasis and bring opportunities in other NAICS codes, other pools, where we might be able to support them as a teammate, and we're looking to do that. We would be a very strong teammate supporting a prime, and we're looking for that same relationship from a subcontractor to help us win and make it a mutually beneficial relationship.
To go back here, I apologize. The question I think Luke asked it, I'd like to make sure you get from Saudi Solution Services. How do you do business with us? If you go to our website, for example, you get my name. That's my job as the Chief of Business Development. We have business developers who are throughout the nation, but I'll plug it in. When I meet with companies, and this is a very truism for Saudi, we post at our website every open position that we have, and I'm guessing others do too. We also post for proposal positions if you need, letters of intent, et cetera, et cetera. The easiest way, Connie Saudi really always likes to foot stomp this, the easiest way as a company, I'm not talking as a recruiter now, as a company to do business with Saudi, that if you look at our website and you say, oh, this position right here in Washington or wherever, we've got someone, we've got that, we can do that, we will make you a teammate. Now, there's some caveats, some, we can't, and I would tell you that almost all of our work, at a minimum, you have to have a secret FCL. We are a top secret FCL. But there's a few caveats, but the easiest way to get to team with Saudi is to look at the website and say, hey, no kidding, I have this person or people or skill set, and I'd like to talk to you about it. And quite frankly, we'd love to talk to you about it because, at least from Saudi Solution Service, our product are well-educated, understood people. I mean, we don't bend metal, we don't do ones and zeros per much. I mean, that's kind of a bit, because we're DLA Jets Prime too, but where our product is making sure that we have resources to give to the customers. So thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead and open it up for questions. I guess I'll throw another one out. This may throw you for a loop. Can you share some best practices you've seen in government solicitations that you've seen that we've been able to incorporate?
Do you guys want to start down there and then we can...
Yeah. You start down there.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
I'll go first if you want.
Sure.
Okay. I think in all the years of work for the Air Force, my favorite contract was the TAMS contract. And on that contract, it was really challenging. And I remember when we took it on, our whole strategy had to change. That's the first time I ever operated under a contract cost center. So there were I felt that there was a lot of risk. There was a lot of new things. But what made that contract my favorite is that we had monthly monthly meetings, so PMRs, sorry. And in the PMRs, the benchmarks that they had really required that we invest in the workforce. So we had to show how many hours we were training. We had to show just our retention rate, our hire rate, all of the things, plus the achievements on the contract. And in those PMRs, I think that we would do them in our office down in Shalimar, Florida, and who would come would be the contracting officer, the buyer. There was a program manager, and they would come, and what we started building was a great rapport. We had a fantastic rapport with our customers out there, but this was also another customer, so there was this awareness that, and one of the buyers, I will say, like, she would go down to the penny. If something was just wrong by a penny and it was a rounding error, it was something we needed to talk about. So she was a real stickler, but that was just really her personality. But over time, I think that those barriers or whatever she had with her concern, they started to see that it did require partnering. And what we've heard over the last 2 days, from the top brass all the way down, was about partnering. And under LPTA, I have to say that that hasn't been the case for us. I think it's kind of like, with all due respect, it's like all of us. When you buy a premium product, you're expecting quality to be in there. So if you're buying, I don't know, name a top brand suit, for example, you're not going to take the fabric and pull it apart and look at every stitch to make sure it's just right. You're trusting that it's there. But if you see that suit on a bargain rack, you're going to then pull it out and evaluate everything. And that's kind of what happened under LPTA. And it was kind of surprising, but it didn't seem as partnering under those contracts. With the contract swing that we're seeing as we're climbing out of LPTA, it's wonderful to hear the customer talk about partnering, because it's essential for exceptional performance. And we all love our government, our country. We want to serve our government, and this is our way of serving. So, but anyway, TAMS was my favorite, and I think it's because there was so much partnering and communication. Thanks.
Luke, we're talking about acquisition, highlights from acquisitions and those kinds of things. A lot of our work that we do is with NASA, and for those of you who have traditionally worked with, primarily the Air Force or DOD, what we have seen in contract debriefs, they tend to be pretty scarce of information. There's not much there. You get the perfunctory information, and I think primarily the goal is to give us what we need to have, not anything more than that, because that could open up for protest, and we know that the government would prefer not to have those. At NASA, it's a different story. At NASA, after an award, they'll put out 8 or 10 or 15 pages of debrief information about the way they did the selection, how they selected the winner, how they, deselected those that didn't win, what their criteria. I mean, it's really extensive. Now, the downside is sometimes that empowers companies for protest. But on the other hand, I really appreciate how extensive that is, because, of course, we contractors are always trying to learn from our mistakes and, learn on the next cycle. Well, what could we have done better and what did we miss? And so I would just say that's a lesson learned that NASA does, and it's extraordinarily helpful.
Okay, thank you.
So best practices in acquisition. LPTA, as Angie said, obviously that's not a best practice. Then it was recognized over time that you get what you pay for. One of the, I think, things that we see the customer evolving, trying to try different things. They got away from LPTA. They went to technically acceptable lowest total evaluated price, which, there was a subtle distinction in their minds, but really it kind of came down to LPTA. Protests have really impacted the way, the government, I think, reacts. I mean, I think they can just expect a protest on almost any source selection. And maybe to some extent, that's why they've gone to HTRO, RRP. That's not saying that it's the right thing. I mean, I think it's the time that they've taken. We saw on one of our ETAS contracts, it took almost 2 years to get it awarded. It was well over 18 months. And that's just too long. And the government, I think, just doesn't have the resources to do a thorough evaluation. I mean, some customers seem to be able to do it. Other customers, not so much. We've had cases where customers give very thorough debriefs, and it's almost like, yep, you hit us in every soft spot that we thought we might have, kind of thing, if we were not selected. I think that the HTRO RRP as was discussed earlier during the EPAS session, has evolved. They're trying to figure out ways to discriminate without being too, when they develop their criteria, they're essentially picking a winner. I mean, when they come up with a list of criteria, they're by definition picking the winner. They may or may not know who it's going to be, but if you look at some of the criteria that come out, sometimes they've been getting very narrow. They've been defining the domains very narrowly, asking for a certain experience that, in my mind, when you're an ANAS contractor, you're required to provide a qualified workforce, retain the workforce, make sure that you backfill any openings, that kind of thing. You transition rapidly, you transition a high percentage of the workforce. But, to say that you've got to have, a certain specific qual that a SME might have corporately, if you're not an incumbent, that's difficult. And so I think part of the problem that they've had, and some of the negative feedback that they've had, we won a very large one. Again, I'll mention Gary's name again. I'll have to ping him later and tell him I mentioned his name twice. You had to have large contracts to win the EPAS ones. But some of the other ones that are coming out are much smaller, but there are other barriers there that prevent companies from bidding. Having very specific quals that prevent somebody that's an ANAS guy that could go hire the qualified workforce, hire that SME. They're just not able to bid. So size in that case isn't the barrier, but other things. And I think I'm probably doing more, not what best practices are, but what
we need to.
the opposite of best practices, but anyway.
There's two best practices that I always appreciate when I'm working a proposal. When a proposal if someone's actually taken the time to make sure that the PWS elements and the section L&M actually all kind of have a thread that carry it together, that don't contradict each other, that's kind of nice, because quite frankly, we write to L&M. I wouldn't be surprised if most people do that, but we've probably all had it. We've received PWSs that actually were just recycles of recycles of recycles. They had the contractor's name in them, and so when that, it's actually someone has done that to make sure that they're all tied together, the PWS, the L&M, that's great. And then secondly, when the government will give a debrief. And I mean a debrief of meaning, and we can each define what meaning means to us. But, you know, HTRO, well, you didn't get enough points. Okay, next. Well, what the hell? I mean, simply my opinion, you know, help us to help you next time. We are sincere, and I know everybody up here, I expect we're all the same. If we didn't win something, we want to understand our deficiencies, we want to understand our good points so that we can continue to work to clear our deficiencies for the next time around, and we want to know what resonated well with the government. So good debriefs, and then making sure the documentation is all threaded to, that they don't contradict each other. It's certainly things that I know we like to see.
Well, I'm not sure if the question was around best practices that we have, or is it best practices that we've seen from the government?
Best practices that you've seen from the government?
None. No, I must say, the government has evolved. I think some of my peers have mentioned, and we've come a long way from LPTAs, Access, if you guys remember Access, LPTAs, now it's best value. So I think they're listening. I would say that's a best practice, to listen to us, small business, and how they're affecting us. What I would suggest, as far as I think Kent mentioned, is more feedback. When you're fortunate enough to win a proposal, the feedback is minimal. It's just simply you won. And I think they could do better. They could let us know, maybe share a little bit of NPC adjustments, so let us know where we failed, where our deficiencies are. I think they could apply that and help us do a much better job in responding to these RFPs. I think that's major, is the feedback that's really lacking. But again, I heard the previous panel, they talked about we're listening, give them feedback so they can do better, and I applaud them. They are trying, but I think it falls back on us to keep giving those feedbacks and stay on top of them, so we can probably help them build best practices and develop a better product and service. I know even during the HTRO, I've had several colleagues, about 5 of us, approach SBA and said, look, we want to talk about this so-called HTRO that you're bringing to Dayton. And they did listen to us, but, you know, I'm not sure the results. They just simply try to make it better because they were already knee-deep into it, so they're just trying to make it better. But that's, I would must say that more feedback on these post-awards. That's what would be a better practice, and they're trying.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I guess we can go ahead and go to closing remarks, and maybe if you can focus on, I know there's a lot of tension on innovation and agility, kind of maybe talk to what you've been doing in your company to leverage that. I guess we can start in the middle, Mike.
I guess agile software development kind of stuff, rapid acquisition. So we're supporting the PEO Digital. I mentioned earlier it was formerly the Battle Management PEO, and I think the Air Force is looking at that organization as one of the 4 leaders of putting commercial software development practices in place, kind of the Dr. Roper concept of fielding things faster, quick spirals, that sort of thing. So far, I think it's yet to be seen whether how successful it's going to be, but I think it's definitely worth doing things faster, trying to modify things, maybe changing, systems seem to go through a developmental test and be okay, and then they go to operational test and get hung up for, a year kind of thing. And that warfighter can't afford to have that happen. So I think that they do need to make some changes, and they're trying to do that to speed up the delivery of capability to the warfighter.
For from a perspective, Saudi Solution Services, as we've gone from a small company to a large company, or a larger company, we put a lot of stock in processes. We're, as Angie, I think, mentioned, we're ISO certified, we're CMMI level 3 certified for services. We've made a big, Connie and Jeff, have really made a big infrastructure investment. We have 6 full-time recruiters on staff. We have a proposal development department now with multiple people in it. We do things now that we are very focused on having repeatable, reliable processes, because as we get bigger, you can't rely. We have seen in the past where, well, who approves our expense reports? Well, Sally does. Well, Sally's been sick for 3 weeks. How do I get my expense report? I've been trying to be funny, but we put processes in now that are less dependent on humans, still dependent, but less dependent on a single point of failure, and that has allowed us, we believe, to be more responsive to the customers and develop, in turn, better products.
I'm going to take a little different approach to this because, and certainly having innovation is critical, but also critical is just simple, fundamental business, ways of doing business. And the one I just want to point out to all of you, because you all either have grown, I see some of my partners out here, you all have grown and done really well, or you're aspiring to, maybe you're bigger than us out here, but please honor your teaming agreements. Okay, and expect me to honor my team agreements. We do. I'll say that's a hallmark of what we do at Peerless, and I suspect it is with my peers here. We do that. Now, you could probably find a case or two along the way where somebody would argue, no, Michael, maybe Peerless didn't do that. Well, I would say that would be very much an exception, and there was a reason why they no longer could deliver what they promised, or the rates went crazy or something like that. But 99.9% of the time, we will bend over backwards to make sure we honor team agreements with you, and we expect you to do that with your subs when you get there down the road. I've got a situation right now with a very large publicly traded company that we won a number of positions with them on a $1 billion contract, and they turned around, change what they want to give us. They want to give us SCA positions at a 1.1 loader, and it's like, you have got to be kidding me. That is not what's in the TA, and it's like, please don't pull this kind of crap. So, respectfully, we'll take care of you. You take care of us, or take care of whoever you team with. This industry will run a lot better like that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I definitely share the comments that my peers have mentioned. Again, we're CMMI level 3, and one thing we try to do is increase our capabilities as a company. 99% of our work has been prime, so we're kind of fortunate or unfortunate not to have been a sub, but we, as Mike mentioned, we do honor that teaming agreement. We try to be the best partner. We value trust, partnership, and if we have that, we feel that's a measure of success for us. So bringing new ideas and understanding the client themselves, because there's the latest buzzword is agile. In my ERP days, that's not a new word. It's always been agile. We just simply use the government's wording, but we still deliver it in agile. So being innovative, that's what we bring. That's what industry brings to the government. It's just a matter of them changing their policies and their processes to understand what we've been doing for years and embrace that, and allow us the opportunity to help them out, and allow us to bring quality consultants to the table to help them out and listen to us.
Thanks. Well, we're interested in bringing innovation into the company. Essentially, we've developed tools that we are working to expand. We are also looking at how artificial intelligence can play into that. We're evaluating the investment of moving into software development at corporate, which is different than a lot of times as a small business. What you're doing, you're capitalizing on what you do out in the field. And so we're looking to those innovations that the market's presenting, and I was really happy to hear how the Air Force is embracing that and kind of nudging us, because as these contracts go into the large, as they get consolidated, what happens is that they're going to become staffing contracts, and the Air Force is looking to, and providing avenues through ATOs and SIBRs for innovation. And so if you're not fortunate enough to win a large contract that is followed more of the traditional staffing approach that we had, that we've enjoyed for so long, we saw the writing on the wall and have started making those kind of investments. And so that's the direction we're going. And so it's kind of exciting, to be honest with you. Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you.
Very nice to meet you.